or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at a surprise new Pincurchin V, which was revealed at the Japanese Championships, the Giant Regional, over, I want to say, in Aichi? Let's go for that. Now, huge shout out to the lovely Antoine Boulet, who has provided our translation. Very lovely dude. And huge shout out to the lovely Primal Lugia, who has gone and taken what was a very awkward picture and turned it into a fairly easy to use picture. Safe to assume that dude has a significantly better set of Photoshop skills than I. So starting off with the basics then, we've got 170 HP basic Pokemon V, and this is low. This is down there with stuff like Morpeko as the weakest of all the Pokemon V. Okay. Retreat cost of 2 is not ideal, but we do have that balloon card which will allow you to retreat for free. Weakness of fighting is awkward because that Morpeko I just mentioned is looking like it's becoming one of the very best decks in Japan at the moment, which means people are going to want to play fighting stuff to counter it, and if they play fighting stuff to counter Morpeko, they're going to end up countering Pincurchin as well. And 170 HP is low. But hey, cheer up, you're a lightning Pokemon. That means you've got Thunder Mountain Prism Star to reduce your attack cost, Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate a little bit of energy, Electro Power to do a little bit of extra damage. Heck, you've even got Electro Charger if you wish to recover your Electro Power to do even more damage. So it's not like you don't have a good set of support. Now the main attraction here is the ability, and the ability is a bit silly good. If this is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's active Pokemon, flip 3 coins. For each heads, place 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Now, it's only got a 1 in 8 chance, right? It's not that likely, but if you can keep flipping heads here, you literally can put 9 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon when they attack. They attack, and you get to put 9 damage counters on them. That's a little bit ridiculous. That is on their turn. That is coming into your turn. That is either you get a KO on them, and then they have to put a new Pokemon active ready for you to take the first swing, or that is they get 9 damage counters, and then it gets over to you, and then it's your turn to attack, and there's a very good chance you're going to get a KO because of the whole 9 damage counters thing. It is fairly over-the-top ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. This is a rather redonkulous ability. Now, it is on a flip. And although there's a 1 in 8 chance you'll put 9 damage counters on, there is a 1 in 8 chance you will put 0 damage counters on. Generally speaking, you should be expecting 1 to 2 heads, which is 3 to 6 damage counters, which is still fine, incidentally, though we have seen things like this in the past. I mean, as a Pokemon, Pincurchin shares more than a passing familiarity with Qwilfish. And Qwilfish has an ability whereby, this is the one that came out in Flashfire, if its active Pokemon is damaged by an opponent's attack, put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. And funnily enough, Qwilfish had the exact same ability back in Secret Wonders. And actually, if we go back to Team Rocket Returns, if Qwilfish is your active Pokemon and is damaged even if KO'd, flip a coin until you get Tails. For each head, put 1 damage counter on the attacking Pokemon. Which I suppose, if you could flip 10 heads in a row, would do even more damage than Pincurchin. For anyone that's wondering, that is a 1 in 1024 chance, or a 0.098 chance. You can round it up to a 0.1 chance if you like. 0.1%. That's low, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not like we've never seen this before. It's just that this is on another level. Qwilfish putting on 2 damage counters is alright. This putting on 9 damage counters is silly. But the other thing is, if we look at these Qwilfish, it's not like they've got particularly impressive attacks. 2 colourless energy, 20 damage plus poison. 2 water energy, 20 damage plus paralysis on a coin flip. 1 water, 1 colourless, 10 damage, flip a coin if paralysed and poisoned. They're not particularly great. And that's kind of my point here. We're going to get to it in a second, but this has a nice attack, not a phenomenal attack, but a decent attack to go along with the ability. Yes, this is basically just the same Quillfish card we've seen like 3 times before, except it isn't, because it is significantly better than any Quillfish card we've seen before. Now, to be fair, I said it shares more than a passing familiarity with Quillfish. You could argue that it is actually more similar to Pyukumuku, who in Sun and Moon had the first card and had the ability, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out, put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. And 6 damage counters is a lot, but that is only if it's actually knocked out, which I don't think is something we really need to be relying on too heavily. So these abilities have come around in the past, but this is better than the others. But what does the attack do? Well, we don't need no translation for the attack, ladies and gentlemen. 2 lightning, 1 colourless energy, 120 damage. It's alright. Here's the thing, right? That is an easy attack cost to pay. It's turn 1, you use Tapu Koko Prism Star to attach an energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. You drop a Thunder Mountain, you attach for the turn, there's free energy you can roll. Now with Pincurchin you do actually have the possibility of using Counter Gain as well here, because of the colourless cost, so you could use Counter Gain Thunder Mountain energy, but you'd have to be behind on prizes, which means using Miss Magius, which is alright, it would work, but it's getting a bit awkward at this stage. And 120 for free energy is fine, but there is a gigantic problem, and that is that we can do better. I mean, let's go down the list, and I'm probably going to miss a couple off here. Pikachu and Zekrom. Free energy, 150 damage, plus accelerate free energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon. Though that is a free prize Pokemon. Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Free energy, 160 and paralysis if you became active this turn. Although again, free prize Pokemon. Zeraora. 2 lightning, 1 colourless energy, so there is a colourless in the cost here, 160, and it can't attack next turn, but that's never held any other Pokemon back, don't worry about that. And more recently, probably the best of them at the moment, Tapu Koko V, who has free retreat, and for free energy, does 200 damage. And again, it can't attack during your next turn, but that doesn't matter. So you've got an extra 30 HP, you do an extra 80 damage, and you've got free retreat. Suffice to say, ladies and gentlemen, that Tapu Koko V as a just attacker is better. But Tapu Koko V doesn't have the ability. And that's kind of your conclusion on Pincurchin here. The attack is not a great attack, it is a fine attack when used in conjunction with the ability. And if you use it in conjunction with the ability, then it's not 120, it's up to 210. Now, having said that, if you flip 3 heads on the ability, then with the attack you hit 210 total, Tapu Koko just hits 200 normally. But what if your opponent's using little attacks? What if your opponent's got a Pheromosa and Buzzwole, and they're trying to do 30 to the active, 30 to the bench? They're just not going to do it. They are not going to risk taking up to 9 damage counters to do 3 to your active and 3 to one of your bench, especially if you've got a Mew on the bench blocking the bench damage. Hey, maybe your opponent's got a Tapu Koko V, and they want to do 20 damage and draw 2 cards. They're not going to do that. So one way to think about this ability is, rather than just, it can add 90 damage and get big one-hit KOs, it is a massive deterrent to your opponent. And let's face it, it would work quite nicely in a Morpeko V hit and run deck. Morpeko V does 150 and switches to the bench, after discarding an energy. You could whack one of these up. Again, you've got to really think about what you're doing here. Just whacking a Pincurchin in the active for your opponent to take 2 prizes really kind of defeats the object of a hit and run deck. But if you know your opponent wants to do smaller attacks, or they're going to get KO'd by a little bit of damage, then you whack Pincurchin up, and you either put them off their little attacks, or you guarantee that they take 2 prizes from Pincurchin, but Pincurchin also takes 2 prizes from them, and then it works very nicely. This is a combination of ability and attack we've not really seen. Pyukumuku and Quillfish have come along with these kind of abilities before, but they've not come along with a decent attack to use in conjunction with it. And it looks like Pincurchin may have, and maybe the ability still doesn't do enough damage. Although, quick side note here, Giant Bomb. Giant Bomb is phenomenal here, because when you attach it right, if your opponent does 180 or more, you put 10 damage counters on them. So one of two things is going to happen. Either they get the KO, take the 10 damage counters plus the ability, or they don't take the KO, but they still take the ability damage. That's kind of hilarious. And remember, with Field Blow rotated out, we do not have good tool removal in our format at the moment. That could be a lovely little combo. So yeah, maybe the ability doesn't do quite enough damage, and maybe the attack doesn't do quite as much damage, but maybe together they're good enough. Maybe against little attackers they're phenomenal. Maybe in a more Pico deck. Now when I say in a more Pico deck, I do not mean you make more Pico Pincurchin and always put Pincurchin active. I do not mean that. What I mean is, you've got one or two in your deck to put active at specific times when it will be particularly useful. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I did not expect to wake up today to see a Pincurchin, and I did not expect to see one that could do 90 damage when it's attacked. But I'm kind of excited that we are seeing it, and that makes me a happy Wassie. But I'd like to know what you think about this card. I'd like to know how you're planning on using it. I'd like to know if you think this could finally be a card like this, which is good. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are nevertheless pretty gosh darned awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.